Hello and welcome to Perspectiva. My name is Tom Philpot. Now, a fresh controversy has erupted in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh after authorities ordered the demolition of 38 out of 40 buildings at Muhammad Ali Jawahar University in Rampur, a minority institution founded by veteran Muslim politician Azam Khan. Well, the proposed demolition of 38 of the 40 buildings at the university in Uttar Pradesh has sparked a protest by students, alumni and local residents. The university serves nearly 3,000 students, mainly from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Authorities say the building violates planning regulations and they were constructed without the necessary approvals. Well, the university disputes those allegations, arguing that the buildings were erected before the arena came under the jurisdiction of the Rampur Development Authority. The matter is now before the courts and an interim stay has delayed the demolition deadline. But for many observers, this case extends far beyond a dispute over building regulations. Well, opposition leaders, civil rights advocates and several human rights organisations argue that it reflects a broader pattern under the governments led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Well, the point to demolition drives affecting Muslim neighbourhoods, religious sites, businesses and institutions, arguing that these actions have disproportionately impacted India's Muslim community. Well, critics contend that minority educational institutions are increasing under pressure and they warn that actions such as the proposed demolition of the university risk undermining access of education for thousands of students. Many also question whether similar enforcement is applied with equal intensity and comparable with other institutions and communities across India. Meanwhile, students at Jawahar University continued their peaceful sit-in protest. Many say they are losing not only classrooms and laboratories, but also a place they regard as safe and welcoming. Female students in particular have spoken about concerns that if the university is closed or significantly damaged, they may not be permitted by their families to continue higher education elsewhere. Supporters of the university argue that preserving educational institutions should be a national priority and that disputes over approval should be resolved through legal and administrative means rather than demolition. They also say the case has become symbolic of wider concerns over minority rights and equal treatment before the law. Ultimately, the courts will decide whether the demolition order is legally justified. Yet, regardless of the legal outcome, the controversy has intensified debate over governance, minority rights and the balance between enforcing regulations and protecting institutions that serve vulnerable communities. For the students waiting outside the university gates, the issue is deeply personal. Their future now depends not only on the legal process, but also on whether their institution survives the challenge before it. So, to discuss this controversy surrounding Muhammad Ali Jawahar University and its wider implications for minority rights, we're joined by Dr. Muhammad Ali Azan, an international relations analyst. Sir, hello and welcome to Perspectiva. So, the proposed demolition of Muhammad Ali Jawahar University's building has sparked big protests. In your view, what is really at the heart of the controversy? Is it purely a legal issue or does it reflect broader political and social tensions?
There are three aspects correctly pointed out by you. There is the legal aspect, there is a social aspect, and there is a political aspect. So I look at them as contesting and competing perspectives, depending on how, which kind of audience is looking at this issue. So looking at it from the point of view of legality, as from the lens of legality, I think the acquisition of the land stands out as a contested thing. The government takes a stand that it has been an irregular purchase on a land, so that is there. Then the planning permission, whether it was taken or not, that's another aspect, and also the compliance applications that are there in terms of how the university was able to comply with the rules and regulations. But primarily, from the legal point of view, I think more appropriately, it is the judicial scrutiny in how the judiciary must decide the legal perspective. More importantly, I think we should be more focusing on the political dimension. As we understand, the chancellor of the university, this Muhammad Ali Jawahar University, is Azam Khan. And Azam Khan is a renowned person. We should also look at the politics that is taking place in the Rampur district within Uttar Pradesh. Now, Rampur district is a district which has 50% of Muslim population. And this university is primarily minority benefiting, Muslims benefiting, although there are students from other religions as well, but then primarily it is for the Muslims. So when we look at the BJP coming to power in 2017, since then till 2026, it's a long time that the ruling government is there. And when I look at it from the point of view of Azam Khan representing the minorities, Azam Khan has been elected to the Uttar Pradesh assembly a number of times. He's been a leader of opposition as well. And it is when he established this Muhammad Ali Johar University's trust in 2003 that the complete process started. So if it was during his, he belongs to the Samajwadi Party, which is basically the social party. So if it is during that time that this construction took place, then if anything that had gone wrong, a common man looks at it from the point of view why this was not highlighted earlier, like from 2017 to 2026, that the BJP government is in power. So if you ask me, there is a lot of politics that is taking place, and Azam Khan has been sent to jail. There have been 100 cases against him. So typical government opposition political scenario in which, unfortunately, the loss will be of students who are getting educated in the university. So that's the political aspect. I think we should not lose sight of that. As far as the social and symbolic aspect is concerned, socially, university is not just a physical infrastructure. It's a place that resonates with character building, with making sure that you churn out the responsible citizens after getting educated. So that's that kind of a place, and there is a lot of stakeholders within the region in terms of development. So many issues related to the presence of university take place. So if you are going to demolish a university, 38 buildings of the 40 existing buildings, then that's like depriving these very number of students, almost 3,000 of them, going to this university, and so that is going to hurt. And from the minorities' point of view, I think Muslims getting educated there in this university, it will be a jolt. It will again be a black mark on the politics of India as the biggest democracy, where the rights of the minority have not been protected. So from social point of view, I think it's the responsibility of the media, the other social associations, and everybody to talk about fair play, to try and highlight this very important issue that might, get escalated over the coming days.
Well, the Uttar Pradesh government says the buildings violate planning regulations, while the university argues that they were constructed before the area came under the Rampur Development Authority's jurisdiction. How should the public, I should say, assess these competing claims?
Yeah, I'm glad that you use the phrase competing claims. So there are two parties to this issue. You've got the government and you got the opposition. You got a Hindu majority and you got a minority, but specifically Rampur district, as I said, has 50% Muslim population and 50% Hindus. But if I look at it as an independent analyst, I would take one view, and that is this kind of action being taken elsewhere also? Is it just this specific university which is being targeted? It's very important that there is transparency in understanding whether this action is specific Muhammad Ali Jinnah University, Johar University, or is it elsewhere also? It could be an anti-encroachment drive from the government's point of view, or it could also be a legal thing, the rule of law that the government wants to, any government wants to implement. But when we look at this specifically politically, we find certain drawbacks that are there. Also, there is a time period. There is a construction time that took place, and now we are looking at the time period of BJP government from 2017 to 2026. Why now? Has there been some notices issued to the university? Has the university been asked to respond? And primarily, is it a proportionate response? You could just not bulldoze your way forward in a democratic society. Uh, there is a logical way, there is a rational way of moving forward. There is a judicial process. So I'm glad that there is some kind of stay being given already on this thing, and I hope that the transparent judicial process takes place, and the public is able to understand everything transparently and understand whether there have been some violations on part of the university. If there are, it should be held accountable. But just look at the cost benefit analysis. If you just demolish an existing infrastructure of a university where 3,000 to 4,000 students are getting educated, females also, the Muslim uh, female students typically feel comfortable going to the university that they are going. So you deprive them that, what would happen to them? So these are the bigger issues that are there.
Well, critics argue that demolitions in recent years have disproportionately affected the Muslim homes, the businesses and the institutions. Do you believe the Jawahar University case fits into the broader pattern? Why or why not?
Uh, there are two ends of spectrum. In the Indian society, there is this liberal secular, and there is this far right Hindutva. And unfortunately, as outsiders, not residing within India, all we do is read about how the transformation has taken place from a very secular India that we are accustomed to seeing to the very far right religious, India believing in Hindutva ideology promoted by the BJP. So if it is a punitive measure, if it is anti-encroachment, if it is like trying to stand up for the rule of law, anybody would raise his hand and say, yes, maybe every government should do that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And like you said, that is it a way that it kind of fits in a pattern? Then you need to figure out whether what has been taking place in the last few years. So there is this Jahangir Puri in New Delhi in 2022, where there were a lot of mosques, a lot of shops, and a mosque entrance also that was bulldozed and then removed. Typical Muslim area. Then there was Akbar Nagar, that's Lucknow, in again 2024. About 1,000 places of residence of Muslims, again bulldozed. Then there is Madhya Pradesh 2022, and you have some residence projects again related to the Muslims, again, in an anti-encroachment drive removed. And then there is Haryana in 2023. There is shops, residences, again Muslims, again removed. And 2024, we have Mumbai, and we have Muslim properties again, such an event taking place. So if you get into the research work, you try to dig out and find patterns, you get a lot of insight. And it's just not that. I think generally, any student who's following the Indian politics, from the time that the Prime Minister Modi's government has come in since 2014, we are finding that the very minorities that a lot of space to live in a very liberal and a very freedom-loving country that India was. Gradually, that has ceded space to a lot of right-wing Hindutva ideology, and that's something that troubles anybody who looks at this specific case sitting from outside. So yes, to answer your question, it pretty much fits broadly into the pattern that's happening in India.
Thousands of students, including many women, say their education could be disrupted if the university is demolished. What impact could this have on access to higher education in the region?
Yeah, a very important question. The effect that it would have on the higher education. If you want to promote liberal values, not only in India, any country in the world, what you do is you impart education. You impart more and more education, because what education does is it lifts your mind. It makes you understand the importance of liberty. It makes you understand the importance of equality. It makes you understand the importance of not discriminating. So that's something that goes with how the higher education gets affected if you do not allow that, and especially to the minorities, to the Muslims. specifically in case of this university, if you don't allow that, that becomes very, very difficult. We have our identities. In this specific case, we're talking about the Hindu identity and we're talking about the Muslim identity. I'm a firm believer that you cannot change certain identities. Like I cannot change the color of my skin. I cannot change my belief or the religion that I subscribe to. But what I can change is a lot of identities that overall, as I transform and grow and get educated, they get changed. So those are the things that education is able to give to the students. So primarily what I'm trying to say, that if it is not made a political issue, and as a common man, if you look at it, why would you like to bulldoze an existing standing infrastructure of 38 buildings that is imparting education to thousands of students? Why would you like to do that? Why can't you think of some other alternative method? Why not wait? You've given the administration, the district administration have given a date, 5th August. By that, if the entire setup will be bulldozed. So that's very arbitrary. I do not agree with that. We should allow the judicial process to take place, and when that is complete, everything can fall in place and people can know how it is proceeding. But your question regarding higher education, I think that's one thing. If you do that to universities, symbolically, it doesn't represent a good image of India. So that's I think how I think about it.
Opposition parties describe the action as politically motivated because the university was founded by Azam Khan, while the government says it is simply enforcing the law. What evidence supports either position?
Yeah, again, two positions, and if you have to be really neutral, then you will have to wait for the judicial process to get completed so that you actually know the facts. The facts can be known. Earlier I spoke about it in how the trust was created, the university 2003, during the time of the rule of the Samajwadi Party, which is Azam Khan's party. So now it's been like 9 years that the BJP is in government. So I cannot understand why suddenly this thing has come up. And if the rules were violated, the laws were violated, why was it not earlier pointed out? And why at this specific juncture this is happening? So that's one way of looking at it. If you depends on which prism you're looking from, which lens that you're looking from. If you're looking at it from the point of view of the government, they will have all the reasons to justify that it's an anti-encroachment drive that we are doing all over the place. But do they have substance? Do they have examples to show this? Especially when you're doing it with minorities that are already under a lot of pressure, I think they don't have a suitable case to present to the people.
Some human rights organisations have expressed concerns about the use of demolition as an enforcement tool within India. What legal and constitutional questions does this case raise regarding due process and equal treatment?
Yeah, the legal questions and the process of treatment, again, legality is more related to the judicial process. But I would want the public, general public, to look at it and desire some transparency. Whatever is being done, if fair play is the call of the day, then people would understand that it's not basically political victimization. Azam Khan has served 2 years in prison. I think still he's serving a term in prison, and over 100 cases registered against him. Already the template is, when you look at it, you see it as politically motivated. It's a BJP against Samajwadi Party. It's more politics there. So from the point of view of the people, the politics is already determining that there is some weight of unfair play, and unless the courts do not, even if the courts decide, it's important for them to make sure that the judgment is popular in terms of how people accept it, because there could be still reasons for people to come out on the streets and protest, and that's something that we don't want, that India doesn't want. We've already seen how the Cockroach Janata Party, and that's the buzzword actually in Rampur. People are saying that if one issue could be decided on the basis of street protests, why can't this issue be decided if we give a dharna, if we give a sit-in, protest, we might as well get what we want. So that's how people are looking at it.
If the courts ultimately uphold the demolition order, what precedent could that set for educational institutions and other large developments across India? And conversely, if the order is quashed, what message would that send?
Yeah, that's a very, I think, interesting question. Why? Because when courts give a decision that is, let's say, in case it supports the authorities, the administration, then I think the authorities or the BJP itself or the political parties, ruling political parties within various states will get more encouraged to do this. Whether it's good or bad, it's for Indians to decide if such a judgment comes. The second thing is if the judgment comes in the favor of the government, then I think a positive thing that can happen is that the universities or all the other institutions would become more diligent in terms of making sure that there are no loopholes left and all the requirements that they comply with, and make sure that they go ahead and do that. If the judgment comes for the university, in favor of the university, I think that will be a great good news, primarily for the Muslim students belong to a minority, and this would help basically to inculcate more homogeneity within the state, because judicial process seemingly it looks to me, sitting outside, that it's not this is a political victimization. So if the judgment comes, but I do not, looking at it objectively, I would like that the impression gets created that everything is done gradually in a phased way, that even a judicial process that takes place, it's more objective, it's more evidence based, and everything that is done serves justice. So I think that will be a good message that will go. So I think that's how I look at it.
And so, looking ahead, what steps should the governments, the universities and the civil society take to ensure that disputes over planning regulations are resolved in a way that protects both the rule of law and the students' right to education?
Yeah, that's again, important. Why? Because to create an aura of justice, I think the most important thing is to create an environment of transparency, where everybody gets to see what's happening, and it's not more judgmental. It's not like a sudden happening. And more than that, I think there should be consistency. It should not be like isolated events. Like it looks like it's more directed against a minority. So if the consistency is there, if the transparency is there, and if it doesn't give an impression that there has been discrimination, I think then people would generally be satisfied. And then, very importantly, it's just not one university we are talking about. Is this kind of standard being applied to other institutions, to other places? So that's another thing that needs to be done in future. If you have to go ahead and carry out anti-encroachment drive, then it should not be subjected just against one minority university, but directed impartially against whatever is happening. So if the people get that kind of impression, they would rather support such a drive. And then regardless of the affiliation, whether it's the BJP or whether it's Samajwadi Party, whichever is leading, it's a good work done in the society. Building a university is not a small event. So one should also look at it from that perspective. That it's something that is, I agree that it's built on an illegal land, then something needs to be done about it. But whether it was built on an illegal land at that time, some body must be there regulatory. If this district regulatory body was not there, So in 2003, later on, there must be something must have happened. I'm sure the Vice Chancellor has gone and given an interview and said that they are taking it up legally, and I think they must have the right documents, etc., to present. Then also important that in future you give notices and you give adequate time to the universities to be able to respond to what is a problem. You just not arbitrarily go in and say that if you do not do it by 5th August, we will come and bulldoze 38 buildings out of the 40 standing. So that I think is another thing that's important. Then when you go on to enforce law, I've always advocated it that when it comes to enforcement of law, it should be proportional. In this case, if a violation has taken place, bulldozing and bringing down the entire university, 38 buildings, it doesn't seem proportional response. So the enforcement of law should also be proportional if in future things have to be done in a good way. And when I say proportional, and then I also think that everything should be graduated and phased wise. And as far as the universities are concerned, they should also be looking forward to making sure that they do all the compliance to all the regulations, to all the laws that exist and that are there. As far as the civil society is concerned, the media is concerned, human rights organization, professional associations, all of them have big responsibility. And their responsibility starts not only from monitoring what is happening, giving their opinions, advocating, standing on the right side of the issue, and supporting most importantly, supporting students. I can just imagine, because I teach in a university, I know what happens to students when they are, the very idea of education is taken away from them. Then they have to search for a new place. Where would they find it? The whole lot of administrative things that go with it, the transportation, the new place, the additional expenses, etc. So I think very important. In the end, I would like to say that the debate in the civil society should be more objective and not subjective. It should be based on hardcore evidence that is there to support fair play and to support that injustice is not done, especially to the minority students, and it doesn't give an impression of a political victimization.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.